President, let me also join my you and be congratulating you for
we're here to express appreciation for your presence there. I recall also mentioning to you after that conference that we would like to come on account of our own colleagues who have sent us to you. First, to let you know about the transition we're undergoing in the Governors Forum, which will culminate in a new leadership, inshallah, by May 2023, after the elections next year. But pending the time that our own election will take place, we've had to put an interim leadership in place because, as Mr. President is aware, I only have 9 days left in Government House, Ado Ekiti. So as a result of that, the Nigerian Governors Forum has put an interim leadership in place, headed by my deputy, the Governor of Sokoto State, Right Honorable Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, and co-chairman by the Governor of Kebbi State, Senator Atiku Abubakar Bagudu. So they'll be piloting the affairs of the Nigerian Governors Forum till we hold our election in May 2023, by which time the majority party will decide who the chair will be, as we normally do in the tradition of the Governors Forum. But it would be remiss of me to do this without also expressing immense gratitude, Mr. President. You've accorded us due regard. You have assisted us in numerous ways. You've listened to us, even when we come with complaints and concerns that may not necessarily be things that you agree with us on. You listen, you accommodate, you respond to us, and at all times, you are always there for us, responding to immediate challenges we have in our individual states, and also collectively when we bring our, more often than not, financial challenges to your desk. And for this, we have a lot to thank you for, which is the way you've dealt with us in the last 8 years, almost 8 years of your administration, from the very first initiative that you implemented through the bailout package to states that were unable to pay salaries and meet their obligations to their workers, to budget support initiative, to excess crude support, to various infrastructural development in our various states, and to generally superintending over the affairs of our country in a manner that we all have a lot to thank you for. Security, as we can see, is improving by the minute. The military is responding adequately, not just in the Northeast, but all over the Northwest and in other parts of the country. And our people are witnessing a new lease of life. We've just seen the release of the remaining unfortunate victims of the kidnapping incident following the train attack in Kaduna, and you went to see them, which we must commend and thank you for, sir. So on all of this, the Nigerian Governors Forum owes you a debt of gratitude. We are an informal forum, after all. We're not a constitutional body, sir. But you do not treat us that way. You still give us our due regard when we bring our collective challenges to your desk. And one of such collective challenges that the governors met over last week, and I mentioned it to you in passing, sir, and that they would like us to bring to your table, is this flooding. In many of our states, local governments are cut off. In Jigawa, we have at least 4 local governments that are cut off, submerged. In Yobe, the same experience. In Kogi, people who are traveling from the west and east down to the north, up to the north, they've had to stay minimum of 10, 11 hours in order to cross from the south through Obajano or Lokoja to the north. This is a problem for which we need your assistance and succors, because a lot of our people, farmlands, are experiencing this natural disaster, because this is not the fault of anyone, but it's as a result of climate change and issues that you have been most concerned about, for which you also just recently established the National Council on Climate Change on, and you even put us in the Nigerian Governors Forum on that council to be part of the processes. We feel this is the time that NEMA, in its responsibilities over emergency situations like this, would need to step in, and that some special intervention funding may need to be released, Mr. President, to help assuage the challenges that our people are going through. We've experienced loss of lives in some states, like Yobe, for example, in the course of this flooding, and we really do need to take some steps to help ameliorate the conditions of our people. My brother governors may have one or two things to add to that, sir, but I thank you personally for your love and your support for me right from the time I came into your reckoning. And since I superintended over that historic primaries that brought you in as the candidate of our party in Lagos in 2014, I've been your son. You've indulged me in many ways, and as the Holy Book says, there's always a time to start and a time to end. This is the time to conclude my own assignment in Ekiti State, and I thank you for all the support that you've given me, sir. Thank you.
The Chief of Staff and Presidential aides here. Mr. President, a very good evening to you. I think our chairman has virtually said it all, and I will hide under the doctrine of covering the field, and only to add that, Mr. President, the issue of flooding, as we speak, is threatening and giving us more challenge on food security. Therefore, there is a need for our government, the government of the Republic of Nigeria, under able leadership, to really come up with yet another plan on how to support dry season farming in order to avert looming food crisis globally. We know the challenges globally in terms of what is happening with the flooding globally, and also the Ukraine war and its effect and on agriculture, and especially agricultural inputs. So there is a need, Mr. President, for really a major intervention by the government in support of farmers, in support of governments at subnational level for us to promote dry season farming this year. So, Mr. President, I appeal that you look into that with your normal, magnanimous, kind heart, and see how best you may direct possibly intervention agencies like the Central Bank to do one or two things that will really support our farmers. Mr. President, as I step into the shoes of my brother when he leaves, because he's still there, rest assured, Mr. President, that we shall continue to extend every support and cooperation for us to finish well and end well as leaders of this country. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Your review of the last 7.5 years have presented to the world yet again how much has been accomplished with too little. You recovered from 2 recessions literally back to back at a time when resources available to the county are constrained more than at any time in our history. In further to what my colleagues have said, Your Excellency, the food situation of the world is still precarious. Many countries including India, have issued an export ban on rice. Nigeria has done very well, but regrettably, the flooding situation is threatening particularly the rice crop. I was in Kogi yesterday. I went to Jigawa. Jigawa will lose somewhere about 80% of their wet season crop. It has happened in the past. Incidentally, under your able leadership, in 2018, we had a flood situation that affected 23 states and devastation in crop output. In fact, it was that year that you authorized, under the instrumentality of the National Food Security Council, for about 30 billion support, livelihood support, to farmers, to fishing communities, and others in animal husbandry who are threatened and affected by the flooding. And equally, in 2020, we had flooding, but albeit at a lower level. This flooding incident and the effect on food production is coming at a time also when the Central Bank of Nigeria has been reviewing its books, and it has been squeezing credit across the sector. But maybe that is one area that we can appeal for direct intervention. Your Excellency, in the last 7 years, the Central Bank has extended intervention to the agricultural sector more than at any time in our history. Thank you for that. But even that sum of money is much smaller to intervention in other areas. For example, is in the region of $2 billion equivalent. And the Nigerian farmers and fishing communities and other small scale have done very well to reciprocate. So even while one can understand CBN needs from time to time to look at books, but this is the wrong time to squeeze credit to the agricultural sector. So we appeal, in addition to any direct intervention, either through the Food Security Council or other agencies, to take cognizance of the need to do better during the dry season period, which most farmers look forward to. Even when they experience fraud, they take comfort that the dry season period is a period where they can even compensate for the lost crop and even have additional output. Thank you, Your Excellency.